Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants Hangout. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. So we're not going to jump into too much introduction today because we are using one of our textbook-sized satellite BGAN units to broadcast live from the rainforest in Ecuador. So we're joined today by Callie Broaddus, who is on a research expedition in the foothills of Ecuador's Andean Chocó rainforest with members from her organization, Reserva, the Youth Land Trust. So she's also there with scientists from a partner organization, the Fundación EcoMinga, and this area contains some of the highest biodiversity on the planet, but it's seriously threatened by human activity. So she's teaming up with EcoMinga to create the world's first entirely youth-funded nature reserve there in the Chocó. So Callie, it's so great to have you joining us today via the power of satellite technology. I hear it's drizzling a little bit, but I think we're going to get a good hangout in.
Yes. Hi, everyone. It is so great to connect with you from all the way out here. This is actually our first time connecting to any human soul on the other side of this this crazy rainforest for 24 hours. We got out here yesterday, last night. We were hiking pretty late into the night and wound up getting here a few mudslides later, pretty late in the evening. So we're really excited to be here. We've had really great weather so far, but it's now starting to rain. So hopefully we'll be able to keep this going until we get through all the questions, but I might talk kind of quickly. So I am here in the northwestern corner of Ecuador in the Chocó rainforest that's in the Andes Mountains. This area, Ecuador, contains more than about 10% of the Earth's plant species. So it's an incredibly diverse area. Starting to rain a little harder. And if you can look behind me, this is what a rainforest looks like. It's full of plant life. We've also been watching tons of birds. We've been seeing lizards, frogs, tree frogs, glass frogs, all kinds of animals, and seen some toucans, some of our favorites, and then some species that are potentially new to science. So that's what we're doing out here. We are joining a team of researchers, Ecuadorian researchers, who are out here in this area, which contains so much life, but is also incredibly understudied. That means that not very many scientists have been out here to count the birds and check out all the different types of frogs and different types of lizards. And so every time they come out here, they tend to find something new that no one has ever seen before. So that's the really exciting part about being here, and it's also the reason that it's so important to conserve this area. So I am representing Reserva, the Youth Land Trust, which is an organization I started about 2 months ago. And what we're doing is connecting young people around the world to create the world's first entirely youth-funded nature reserve. And it's going to be right here in the Chocó rainforest, just a few miles from where I'm standing right now. And we actually got the chance to walk up onto the land that we're going to be purchasing the other day. We trekked through an absolute downpour, nearly lost several cameras and lenses, nearly lost ourselves because it was so steep. And came home after about 6 or 7 hours of hiking, completely drenched from head to toe, rubber boots full of water, but it was so worth it. We got onto our site and saw that we have potentially a spectacled bear den. We have pumas. We have incredible species living on this site. And so we're really excited to be working here and to be protecting this area. Which is increasingly threatened by mining activities, by farming. Areas of the rainforest are being cleared for plants like naranjilla, which is a plant, it's a fruit that you probably haven't eaten before, but it's kind of like an orange. And you just see everywhere you drive, all these areas that have been deforested for human use. And these are areas that are as diverse as the one I'm standing in right now. So it's really important that we protect as much as we can to save these species. So just moving on very quickly, I have brought with me several members of Reserva, my organization, from our youth council, which are young people from around the world who are particularly passionate about saving our last wild places. And so I have with me here Lucy Huliston, and she's going to introduce herself.
Hi. So I'm Lucy. First of all, what I do is I work for the Sloth Appreciation Society, and I run social media and film. And I've just recently got back from a 3-month trip to Panama, where I was documenting a wildlife rescue centre that specialises in rescuing sloths. So that was an experience, and now I'm here in the rainforest. So yeah.
So Lucy is obviously from England, so she had to travel pretty far to get here on about a 1-day notice. I had someone else lined up to come, and unfortunately he wasn't able to make it. So I made a quick call to Lucy and said, "Hey, what are your thoughts on going to the rainforest in 2 days?" And she was like, "Oh, okay." So she's here.
Can't say no.
Very excited. And then we have Carter Reese.
Hey.
There we go.
My name's Carter Reese. I'm 18 years old and I'm from the US. As you can tell, I don't have as good of an accent as Lucy here. But I have a nonprofit organization that I started with my sister about 10 years ago to raise awareness about endangered species and plastic pollution and how we get the youth more involved in these kind of issues because we are the next generation. Like Callie and Lucy said, we're out here in the rainforest and it's pretty awesome. It's the coolest place I've ever been, so we need to protect it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to give you a little tour. I'm hoping you guys will have questions, so I'm going to try to cut what I say kind of short, but I'm going to turn the camera around and just kind of give you a look at where we're staying. So here we go, if I can figure this out. All right, so this is our research station, and I'm hoping that we don't have too much water on the lens. But this is where we're sleeping, where we're eating, where the scientists are doing research. And actually they are right now, let's see what they're doing. We have these guys are discussing a potential land purchase to conserve more land. And let's see, in here, this is where all the food is made that we eat. It's a pretty limited diet. Hola, hola, puedes decir hola. So we have people in there cooking, making sure we're all fed. We even have a visiting dog. And this is where all the work is done. So this table, you can see it's covered in plastic. That is because when we collect specimens, so we'll bring out frogs, mice, lizards, things like that, and we want to do work inspecting them, analyzing them, figuring out what species they are. Are they something we know? Are they something we don't? Then we put them out on this table and check them out. But we don't want to do that on wood, so it's covered in plastic. And you can see all kinds of crazy things they have here, like someone blew up this rubber glove. I'm not really sure what the use of that was, but we have alcohol and formaldehyde and all kinds of things that the scientists use to do their work. Now I'm going to turn this back around. You can see where we're sleeping, and I actually have to take off my shoes to get in here. But right now people are eating lunch. These are our scientists. Okay, our scientists are eating lunch. And then this is where we sleep. So we have pitched 5 tents inside this little room, and I hope this transmission will be okay, but I'm going to show you. This is my tent right back there, the orange one. And so it's a pretty cool little structure. What do you guys think? The floor is made of bark. So you can see,
Almost like tinder.
it's almost like tinder. It's really neat. It moves a lot while you're standing on it. And then we just go down this really steep ladder to get out. Everyone wears rubber boots because it is incredibly muddy here. So that is where we are. Last night we went out, it was our first night here, and I'm putting my shoes back on. We went out herping, which is what you call it when you walk through the night with flashlights and you are looking for reptiles and amphibians. We found several species of frogs that were not known to be in this province at all. and we found potentially a new species of anole, which is a type of lizard, which is incredibly exciting. It was the first thing we found in the first maybe 5 minutes.
One of the scientists said that, one of the scientists just told me earlier that one of the frogs that he found without us being there might actually be a new species as well. It's a bright yellowish kind of green, so he's gonna let us know throughout the the rest of the day or tomorrow.
Pretty exciting stuff. So this is what happens when you go into an area that is so underexplored and understudied. It seems like new species just kind of literally fall out of the trees. And that's because we just don't know enough about this place. So if any of you are actually interested in becoming scientists, it's a really, really exciting time, and it's an exciting place to be. There's so much left to be explored, and we need as many scientists as we can taking inventory of what we have as these human pressures start to encroach on our wild places. I'm just gonna walk you, I think I'm probably a little far from the unit, so I'm gonna go this way and just show you a little bit closer look at the actual rainforest. Last night as we were herping, I was using my camera, and I have a big camera with a flash unit on the top, and I was walking down a really slippery, steep slope, and there was a puddle, and I'm wearing rubber boots, so I thought it would be fine. I kind of almost tripped, but I stabilized myself by putting my foot in the puddle. Turned out the puddle was actually about 3 feet deep, and I submerged myself all the way up to my waist, and my camera, and the lens, and the flash unit. So that stuff is in that building recovering right now, and the camera seems to be working fine. The flash unit, not so weatherproof. So that's the latest mishap. Lots of things tend to go wrong when you're in the rainforest. And you don't really have the ability to fix broken things because we're really far from civilization. So, okay, can you see behind me? I'm actually gonna turn this around. That's our bathroom. See these massive trees? These really tall trees are what make this forest valuable, worth something. Each one of these super tall ones is worth about $10,000 on the logging market. So you can see why people who own this land would rather sell it to a logging company than to conservation. But we are trying to document everything that's happening here so that we can convince people to conserve their land rather than selling these really precious items to groups that might harm them instead. I know we want to get to questions, so I'm going to introduce Javier, who is our maestro, and he is the director at EcoMinga and the person who is going to be in charge of the Youth Land Trust's reserve. So here's Javier. He's going to say a little bit about the Chocó, where he's been working for many years.
Hello, everybody. My name is Javier Roballo. I'm working with the EcoMinga Foundation. I'm in charge of the Dracula Reserve and the Youth Land Trust Reserve. We are in the northwest of Ecuador, in the edge between Ecuador and Colombia. In one of the most beautiful places with a huge amount of rain and diversity. This is a beautiful intersection between the Andes and the Chocó region. So it's not only bears, also it's pumas and ocelots that are living here. It's a place with a lot of diversity, from tiny frogs, lizards, snakes, Sicilians that are quite large, and gigantic trees.
And jaguars.
And jaguars on the lower elevation. Yeah. And monkeys. We have 3 species of monkeys: brown-headed spider monkey, capuchin monkeys, and howler monkeys.
So that's Javier. I'm Callie. This is Lucy and Carter, and we would love to answer your questions. So any questions you might have, whether it's about more mistakes we've made, like dropping cameras into water. This one's particularly prone to sliding like butt down in the mud.
Yeah.
So just toss your questions our way, any one of us.
All right, Callie. Well, thanks so
ready,
much
Joe?
for showing us around. The
Oh,
signal is holding up
didn't
really
actually-
well.
I forgot that you have some of my photos. If
I
you
do.
want
Do
to
you
throw
wanna go-
those up, I will quickly say what they are.
Okay. Give me a second to share my screen.
It's really exciting to be here, and so I didn't actually need to prepare a talk because it's just really cool to be here. But I do have a few photos for you. So this is what it looks like when you're hiking up to our site, the one that we're actually going to be protecting. And you can see that the plant life is, every single plant you see is a different one than what's next to it. Totally incredible. We have bromeliads growing up the trees, palms, ferns, moss, everything you can think of. Let's click through kind of quickly, Joe.
Yeah, I just need to spotlight my screen first. I'll try that again now. Okay, they should be up now. Are they up now?
Almost. It says Joe is starting to screen share. Pinch out for a bigger view. Can you click through to the next one?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so this is a Katie did. Now, this is called a macro photo. So this is one of the things that that we are working hard on photographing, is little things, but this one is not so little. This guy was on the wall of where we were staying, and it was probably 4 or 5 inches long in the body. So just absolutely massive insects here. Next is so this is, you're looking at the first view of our site where we're going to be protecting. It's not the grass that you see in front of us, but if you follow the ridge straight in the middle, up these huge white rocks, just at the top of those rocks, that's now under the clouds, that is where our reserve begins. So it's super exciting. This is where we had to walk from here all the way up the ridge and then all the way up to the top of that mountain. Next. So next we have a potentially new species to science, which we found on this hike. Javier found it, and to see his face light up when he saw this tiny orchid was really exciting. So this is what it looks like. We take a little sample out, and then so we can study it closer, figure out if it is indeed a new species. And so we take it with its little spot from where it's growing, so that we can actually cultivate it. Scientists can cultivate it in the botanic garden. This is close up. So these are orchids, and they are only about 1 or 2 millimeters wide. So that is absolutely minuscule. You cannot see them with your naked eye very easily, but when using that macro photography, we're able to zoom in and see a lot of detail. And the next photo, this is where he found it. So imagine walking through the rainforest and scanning incredibly lush fallen trees, fallen logs, and finding something the size of the head of a pin and saying, that's a new species. That's the level of knowledge that the people here have and that Javier has. And so we're very, very lucky to be working with someone who's so knowledgeable, because that's how you discover new things. And of course, having good eyesight. So this is the Chocó toucan. It is an endemic species to the Chocó region. And I'm sure it looks familiar to you. And I think we just have maybe 1 or 2 more photos, but next one that's just me. That's the moment we stepped foot onto the reserve for the first time after hiking through. You can't tell in this photo, but I am absolutely drenched. Yeah, like so bad. We can skip that. This is just sort of what deforestation looks like in the rainforest. And then maybe we will quickly go through these. This is the feather of a motmot, which is that bird on the screen. So this is one of the things we're doing, is looking around for bird life. And we have these incredibly beautiful iridescent birds. And we were lucky enough to find this feather as well. The next one, when we actually began our expedition, we're doing kind of two things at once. We started by bringing an entire collection of museum specimens out to the small town called Chocó, which is near our reserve. And we brought it to these students who are from Ecuador and Colombia, and set it up in an atrium. And so these kids, for the first time ever, were able to see so many of the animals that live in their own backyard, obviously with the exception of the tiger. But many of them had no idea that these species live there. And so hopefully, after seeing them, they will all be more ready to help protect them. And then I think the last image here is just after we left this big school presentation. We were lucky enough to run into the director of environmental enforcement, who had just confiscated an agouti, which is it's a big rodent. It's a little animal, but a big rodent that looks kind of like what's that other animal?
A small capybara.
Like a small capybara. He had confiscated it from a hunter, and we were able to go out and release it. You can see the cage behind us. This is our team here.